You have been asked to plan and facilitate your first meeting. Now, the question is, are you going to use the default settings and have just another meeting? Or are you going to use it as an opportunity to create an experience that's intentional, that's engaged, and that helps move the group further towards the desired outcome? If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Neve and I'm here to help you create a better workday. And today I'm giving you the basics when it comes to meetings. This is really helpful if you are new to meetings or even if you want to improve the meetings that you're currently running. Before we get into it, I want to dispel a few myths when it comes to meetings. The first myth is that for a meeting to be effective, it takes a lot of time, planning, and effort. And that's not true. Sometimes the more time and planning you put into a meeting, the more complex it gets. And that way you don't focus on the one or two things that matter most. Instead, what you want to do is make sure you've got the basics covered and you highlight the desired purpose or outcome of the meeting and keep that as the central focus. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. The second myth is that meetings should be 25 minutes or 45 to 50 minutes long. And the reason behind this is it gives people time back between meetings, which I understand. But my question is, why can't it be 15 minutes or 90 minutes or 37 minutes long? Like sometimes trying to fit things into a box isn't the best way to do it. And the third myth is that you need everyone in the meeting in order to make real progress. And that's not true. It really depends on their role and how they're going to contribute to you achieving the overall purpose. So let's get into the basic elements and we will look at the steps that you must take in order to create meaningful meetings. The first step is to decide the purpose of the meeting. Why are you bringing people together? It doesn't matter if it's in person or online, you need to know what the purpose is. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make here is that they put the topic of the meeting as the purpose. So, for example, the purpose of this meeting is to give a team update, or the purpose of this meeting is to problem solve or to brainstorm the solutions to this problem. That's fine. But you're just talking about the purpose of the time together. You're missing what will happen after the meeting. And that's the real value. That's the real purpose. Because we need to understand that when meetings are done well, they facilitate people coming together so that they can make decisions or exchange information or come up with new ideas that allow them to do their work better, faster, more effectively. So in the two examples I gave you there, in the team meeting, you will give updates, but those updates will give you in the information that will allow the people in the room to do their work or to progress to the next step or to do things better or whatever. Or you come together to solve the problem, yes, but as a result of solving the problem, you then implement that solution, which then allows you to go on and do X, Y, Z. So the purpose is always what happens next or what will you be able to do as a result of this meeting happening. And that's the focus. Now, once you understand the purpose, it's important for you to consider who needs to be in the room. And this could be a virtual room again or a physical room. And there's usually four buckets. So you're going to have the people who have the information or they are the experts. So they're coming to actually share what needs to be shared in terms of information, facts, data, insights, whatever it is. You're going to have the decision makers. These are the people who say yes or no to suggested actions or next steps. You're going to have the action takers. These are the people who will actually be doing the work after the meeting. So we need to have those in the room. And then you have what I call the FYI group. So these are people who are in the room for context so that they have a broader understanding of what's going on. And that might help them to do their job better, or it might just be good to know information for them to have for a future situation yet to be determined. Honestly, some people have all four roles. So you could be somebody who comes with the information and you will be making some decisions or you have decision making power. You probably get some actions as a result of the meeting, and it's good for you to be there. But a lot of other people might only have one or two of these roles. So it's just good for you as a meeting organizer to jot down next to the people who are going to be attending what their role is and what part they play. And the reason I say this is that if somebody can't attend and if they are in the FYI group, then you can send them the minutes after or you can send them a recording of the meeting after. But if somebody has, decision making authority or they're one of the key action takers, you're going to want to make sure they're definitely in the meeting. And that's why I said earlier, not everyone has to be in the meeting all the time. Once you know the purpose of the meeting and the role that different people play, You can then determine if people are must-haves or nice-to-haves. Now, the third thing that you will then do is organize the structure of the meeting. And I'm saying structure, not agenda, because the structure is much more than the agenda. Yes, we'll start with that, which is you identifying the 2 to 3 topics that are going to be covered in the meeting. Please don't have any more than 3, and roughly how much time you're going to allow for each. What I recommend is, if you have pre-reading material, to add a buffer time at the start to give people a chance to read it, just in case they haven't had an opportunity to do it. Especially if someone's after going to the effort of creating pre-reading material, you want to give everyone the opportunity to take that in, and it also reduces irrelevant questions throughout the session. And then I want you to add another buffer time at the end to confirm what the actions are going to be, who's going to do them, and when the next update is going to be. Because in my experience, this section is always rushed and people are kind of like getting actions at the last minute, and often they're not really sure what their action is or when it's really due. And again, that just creates a follow-up noise, a follow-up email that we can avoid by allowing some time for it in the meeting. Before you send out that meeting invite, I want you to stop and consider what the best format is for the meeting. And what I mean by this is, it varies depending on how many people are in the room and what the objective is. 3 really good examples for you are: if it's a one-to-one meeting, then that's going to be a conversational style. If it's going to be a team update meeting, it's going to be very round table-esque. So everyone's going to have an opportunity to give their update and to ask questions. And if it's a problem solving meeting, then what you might find is people break out into smaller groups of maybe 2 to 3. They brainstorm together and then they come back and present their ideas. So there are 3 different types of meetings and 3 different formats. And knowing that and putting that on the agenda is great, because it gives people an idea of what to expect. And finally, now that you know the format, the attendees, the topics, all the bits and pieces, you're going to decide on the duration. I recommend no longer than 90 minutes, because people won't have the ability to concentrate on those topics for any longer than that, and they're probably going to have other work to do as well. So let's be considerate of that. And no less than 10 to 15 minutes, because you want to give the group an opportunity to have a conversation or to ask questions if needed. But really take a look at your topics and how much time is allowed. And it's okay if it's 35 minutes, it's okay if it's 45 minutes. I would always add more time rather than less, and let people know that they'll get time back if possible. That is it in terms of the meeting structure. And the final step that you will have to take in terms of planning your first meeting or your next best meeting is to schedule it. So if you're meeting with less than 5 people, try to be considerate of their calendars. So do take a peek into their calendars if you can, and schedule at a time that suits everyone. I know that's not always possible. For bigger groups, you're going to have to go with the best available time. Really, I would focus on making sure that the decision makers can attend, because otherwise the meeting isn't going to be able to generate the agreed outcomes, and people won't be able to take the actions that they need to take to move things forward. So if the decision makers can't join, there's really no point having the meeting. The next step for you is going to be facilitating the meeting. And if you are new to meetings, there are just 2 things I want you to remember. First of all, take notes with a pen and paper. It will keep you in active listening mode and keep you engaged, so that you can then bring people back on to the agenda if needed. And to help with that, I would also keep a timer. So have it on your phone, have your phone open with the different timings, so that if people are running close to their allotted time, maybe topic 1 is meant to be 20 minutes and you're 15 minutes in, you can give the person who's talking a heads up or a notification that they only have a few minutes left. And being that timekeeper and taking those notes are the very first steps in being an excellent meeting facilitator. I know they seem simple, but they are a good foundation to begin with. Okay, I think that is plenty for you to take in and consider for the meeting you are going to plan next. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to answer them. More importantly, if you have any meeting tips for beginners or for people who are looking to improve the way that they plan and facilitate their meetings, let us know in the comments. I am going to be going into more detail on this topic over the next couple of weeks and months, so do let me know if there's anything in particular you want me to cover. And until next time, stay well and have a better workday.